What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Gary Newman and his Tubeway Army, which is to say we're going to start going through Tubeway Army's 1979 album Replicas, and the first track is Me, exclamation point, make sure I get the second part right, I disconnect from you. And that actually reminds me, I looked at the album art for this album, and it shows Newman looking very washed out because there's a bright light above him and he has sort of bleached hair, looks almost vampiric, and he's looking straight ahead, sort of, android faced, but his reflection in the window slash mirror is looking back at him, and so there is a disconnect between him and reflected him. So that could just be a coincidence, but the phrasing of the opening title of the track seemed perhaps related to the visual motif of the album cover. So intrigued by that, and obviously a deliberate disconnection from something indicates a choice, not a severing where you weren't prepared for it, or it's not something that you desired. So curious to hear if there is an interpersonal dynamic or if it's an intrapersonal dynamic. So let's find out what it is. This is Gary Newman, or rather Tubeway Army, and the track is Me, exclamation point, I disconnect from you. Haunting. How it filled out with flatline there. Interesting. Again, replicas, copies of things, but therefore, not the authentic original. it does make me wonder whether this is, it sounds interpersonal, but it really is intrapersonal. But if it is between people, again, it sounds like a deliberate disconnection. What was the line? It was like, I can feel your like mind decaying, like right next or like inches away from me or something like that. And so then like I disconnect from you. So I'm intrigued by some of the lines I heard, but I'm not quite sure how to make sense of it or whether it is genuinely interpersonal or in the mind of one person and like different parts of oneself are like disconnecting from a copy of oneself. So perhaps I'm reading too much into the title and the cover, but again, I always think a lot about a tune that starts a record. Whether, sometimes it's a title tune, sometimes title tunes are on the album, but they're not first. But I'm always, when an artist says, okay, this is what I want someone to hear right at the beginning of this record, I'm intrigued by that. So, I'm a DJ. When I do mixes, oftentimes it's not only do I put thought into the whole mix, but in particular the beginning and the ending tune, they're sort of important. Sometimes if it's a techno mix, you want to get right to it. Other times, if it's a trance mix, you might want a long ambient intro. And then if you have a tune that you really, really love, where do you put it in the set? Do you put it right away? And then it feels like everything after that might be a level below. Do you put it at the end, where sometimes it feels like a long way to get to it? Do you put it smack dab in the middle? There are different theories of this that I hold in my own brain depending on the type of mix, but that's the point. Like, I'm intrigued by the way artists organize their records, in particular how they start and end records. So a cool opening tune, and one that it feels somewhat like the self-titled album overall feeling. Obviously there was some variety as we went across that album, but this felt slightly less post-punk, slightly more electronic and sort of new age, new wave, not new age in the way that phrase is used musically typically, but again, like something that's moving into a different sonic territory, one with more electronic sounds and a bit more, let's say, atmosphere that's distinct from what is typically meant when someone says punk or post-punk. So either way, I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the album. Shout out to those who've been following the Newman / Tubeway Army journey. Let me know what you think of this tune. I will see you next time. Peace.